Nickey Nichols, and I am here at Pulaski County Special School District here in Little Rock, Arkansas. And I am the Response to Intervention Coordinator as well as the PBIS Coordinator for the district.
Awesome. And how long have you been here?
I have been here in that position as RTI Coordinator since 2011.
Wow.
And we started working with learning about PBIS as it associates with response to intervention. It's the basically the tier 1 of behavior.
So you are at the district level implementing PBIS. So tell us a little bit about your district's journey getting here to PBIS in 2021.
Okay, well, I say it started back in 2011 when I first got here as a district coordinator for RTI, and we basically realized we didn't really have much of behavior tier 1. And so at the time, as far as you know, that with any new transition you have, buy-in is very important. And so as the time went on, our schools from our meals feeder pattern basically requested it. They requested and knew the connection between discipline and academics. And so with that said, they were our first feeder pattern to basically do a trial run, and we received training in 2016-17 school year, and they have been implementing ever since. And so the rest of the schools in our district, which makes up 3 other feeder patterns, they have been in, now will be about the 3rd year. And so this is our year 3 of implementing totally district-wide with of course, the other meals feeder pattern starting the journey a little earlier.
So speaking of your district, tell us a little bit about how many schools that you have and about how many students that you have.
Wow. We have about 11,745 students enrolled.
Wow.
And so with that said, we have about 26 schools. We have 4 high schools with an extra little onset of high school with the 9th grade academy that will soon turn into a junior high. And we have 4 middle schools, and we have those middle schools feed into our high schools, and then we have about 16 or so elementary schools for really a grand total of 26 schools that we service.
And then do you have anybody that helps you support your PBIS work in the schools?
I'm so glad you asked. I have a very supportive superintendent, Dr. Charles McNulty. Also a good supportive deputy superintendent who's actually my direct supervisor, Ms. Dr. Alicia Smith. And so with that, we have put together our learning services team along with some other district leaders from equity and pupil services, from the special education department. We make up what we call the district champions, and we go out and support the schools. Each district champion is assigned a school in which they support, and so they will, like for instance, this coming up month, they're going to be going out to the schools and supporting them by making sure that they're on track with their tier 1 and then ready to move in for their tier 2. And so they go in and they're like, help me be the eyes and ears of PBIS, and then I go back and reinforce that support.
Have you trained all of your district champions, or are they just natural born PBIS folks?
Initially, when we did it district-wide, which was about 3 years ago, we did train all of our district coaches. They district champions rather. They trained with the staff, the new staff, with those other 3 feeder patterns, as well as we have new ones come in. I help walk them through the process of what to look for PBIS-wise, just an overview, any kind of training that you would probably give an administrator.
So when we've talked before, you've talked to us a little bit about how your district has kind of transformed over the last few years. You know, you had some discussions at the state level, some things that needed to improve, and you've kind of talked about how PBIS and PBIS Rewards has kind of helped you do that work. Can you talk to us a little bit about what that has looked like?
Well, we were a part of DSEG for quite some time. Matter of fact, we've been in a 38-year-old DSEG lawsuit. And so as of end of last year, which was around May, we are no longer in this DSEG. We have basically been, we are now in what they call full unitary status. And with that, we are using PBIS to help us accomplish that for the RTI side, as well as Abbott. And with that, we're using PBIS rewards, the system, to kind of help us stay in that state of being unitary. We're going to be using that system to help us manage and be able to monitor our minor behaviors versus our major behaviors. And of course, you know that anything that's major gets put in our state system, and so our goal is to prevent it from being a major so we can get control of those minors. And so we're using PBIS rewards as that avenue. Not only we're giving points, but we're also documenting our minor and major behaviors. And it's basically, you can say it's a non-negotiable in our district.
So what does that mean? So if you tell somebody this is a non-negotiable and we have to do this, we have to have data, you can talk to us a little bit about, you know, how did you go from this being something that we're just doing to being a non-negotiable, and then also how that kind of goes hand in hand with staff buy-in.
So we started PBIS rewards as a hodgepodge of our schools. Different schools started using PBIS rewards 1920 school year. They basically started out using maybe your paper bucks, and quickly we find out that the kids love to duplicate that. And so with that, they found PBIS rewards. So probably that first year we had probably anywhere between 7 to 10 schools using PBIS rewards, and those 7 or 10 schools talked it up so well that the next year people wanted it. And so after I did my research and look into PBIS rewards, I'm like, why not? So I campaigned basically to see if the district can find us some funds to be able to use it district-wide, and that's what we did. We started using it district-wide 2021, and here we are in our second year using it district-wide, and we basically focused on just giving the points as a point management system. But as we saw what the system could do, we then started branching out the year of COVID. That was really right on time with being able to give the students that were here in person as well as virtual the points, and still be able to reward and motivate kids. And then we started using it too to help motivate and reward teachers. So we found that as an opportunity. And with that, we were like, okay, we are now in unitary status. What other piece can we just kind of, I guess you could say, kick it up a notch? And so we started using the minor and major referral system. Most schools had already been using it anyway, the year of COVID. And so now it's just, this is gonna be just part of who we are. We're going to be using PBIS rewards to give points and to document our minor and major behaviors.
So one of the things that I heard you say was, you know, we talked about a little bit of non-negotiables, and we've been lucky enough to be here in person with you and get to see some of your schools. And one thing that we're noticing, a common theme, is that we see your matrices are posted everywhere. There are common expectations for all different parts of your school. That is something that not all schools are doing quite yet. So can you talk to us a little bit about how you got that kind of buy-in, where that is one of the things that we see everywhere? PBIS is very visible in your schools.
Well, I contribute that to the PBIS school teams that was trained in this, and we basically used the University of Arkansas State University to do the training, and as well as we were a part of a grant with the state of Arkansas. And so with that said, we got the training, and they walked us through those parts of creating the matrix in all locations of your buildings, making sure that we got down to the bones of just posting it as well as reminders. And so with that, as we went through that half a semester training, should I say, for our second group of schools. We started doing it district-wide. They had a semester of training, and the Arkansas State University, ASU as we know it here in Arkansas, walked us through that training with the matrix. So every team created their own matrix, and then it branched out to the different areas. And then we were commissioned to do that with the with posting. And so all of it was really laid out and detailed step by step what we should do, and teams took it back to their schools and made it happen. And so each school in our district has a coach that helps facilitate that that process, as well as a team behind the coach to help get that work done. And the team with the coach goes back to the staff and teaches it and reinforces it. And that's one of the ways I contribute us to having the buy-in, is with the help of the strong coach and the strong team.
How did you find those teams? So having a district team of coaches that are embedded in each of your schools, how did you get them? You know, did you recruit them? Did you have them apply? Was it just like begging people to come be part of the team? So tell us a little bit about how you assembled your dream team of coaches, and what are some of the things they do in their schools?
Okay, well, the district champions, or district coaches, as you can say, they are my colleagues. They happen to be my colleagues, and it really was a fluke that it came about. It was that I was assigned some other duties, and so I was like, I need some help. And so what better yet is to work with the team of people that I see every day, that are also out in the schools. And so they were very receptive, took on supporting another school. Some of them supported 2 schools. From that, the building administrator selected their coaches, with A-State giving them the criteria of what you wanted to look for, and having some basically a little to-do list before we kind of got started with the training. And so from there, the coaches were selected by their administrator, as well as the team was selected by their administrator. So I guess I contribute that for a strong district team to the fact that I work with them on a daily basis up here. And they were very willing, and was able to tie it into what they already do every day. And so as well as going back to a supportive superintendent and deputy superintendent saying, this is the way we're going to go and we're headed as a district, with PBIS as our RTI behavior piece, as well as AVID with our academic piece. And so everybody knew that.
So what about your data? So you're using PBIS rewards as a way to really make sure that things are getting accomplished, that your referrals are changing. What kind of data are you looking at? Who's looking at the data, and kind of what are you doing with that information?
We're basically looking at it to keep our discipline numbers down, the numbers that we have to report to the state with our major behaviors. We did see a change with those, the first meals feeder pattern, with the decrease in the amount of referrals, as well as we wanted to use PBIS rewards to be able to keep managing that. And to keep our numbers down. As you know, numbers were down anyway with students being virtual.
So talk to us a little bit about your district approach to looking at data, to looking and supporting your administration. What reports are they utilizing? You know, how are you staying in contact and kind of holding everybody accountable on this thing that you have said is a non-negotiable?
Well, how we hold each other accountable is that, for instance, we are now finished with the first 9 weeks of school. Just take that instance. Our discipline is reported, and the major behavior issues are reported into our system, our school system. And then we have our director of equity and pupil services then report those numbers to our administrative team. So each school gets to see what their discipline will look like from this first 9 weeks of school. And so based on those numbers, we take our time once a month in principals meeting to look at that discipline data, not just discipline data, but as well as academic data. And so, and basically teaching them how to disaggregate it. I mean, what is it telling you? It tells you about the incident, and then also too, we could use PBIS rewards as well to be able to drill down to the actual location that things are happening, to the actual classroom, to the actual time of day that it's happening. And so versus when you're turning it into e-school, so now that we have basically said that this is a non-negotiable, this is an expectation for you to use PBIS rewards, some of those discipline concerns can be nipped in the bud before it becomes a major incident where it's reportable. That's what we want to accomplish with using PBIS rewards. Like, first 9 weeks is over, but now we're here in the second 9 weeks. What can we do to turn that around? What type of additional interventions do we need to use? Tier 2, you guys have a good Tier 2 piece with check in and check out, where some of our schools are starting to use it.
Do you see any correlation in some of the data that you're looking at that shows the more points that are given, the less referrals are given? Are you seeing any of that in your data, and have principals kind of had that aha moment like, oh man, I think I'm starting to see the light?
We're hoping that there's going to be a aha moment. Matter of fact, it's funny you mentioned that. I was just in a meeting the other day with the superintendent and the deputy superintendent that basically said, hey, I want a monthly report, Ms. Nichols. I want to see our monthly PBIS rewards. I want to see how many points are being given. And then while I was in the system, happens that I find something that's like the comparison between the points and referrals. And so I'm going to start handing those to them once a month as well, so that when they're having those monthly meetings with the different feeder principals, that we can look at different avenues as far as what's going to be next. What's our next step? Now that we know that there's a connection, what are we going to do? You know, how can we basically motivate our teachers? Because it all goes back down to the classroom teacher. How can we motivate our teachers as well as our staff to give the points? And that started us too this year after COVID, knowing that we've all been, what you can say, kind of bummered about not being able to maneuver around as we normally do. We're even working on rewarding our teachers as well, because we know it all does go back to the staff as well as the teachers.
And building relationships.
And building relationships with kids.
That's right.
And so that's how we plan on keeping our numbers down, and incorporating PBIS too with culturally responsive teaching as well. So once again, goes back to building those relationships and we holding each other accountable.
One of the things I just heard you say was some of my schools are now ready for Tier 2. And so we have a lot of schools and school districts that are so excited about PBIS, and they want to do it right, and they want to do everything all at once. And so, you know, we always joke and say it's not what bite of the elephant that you have to take first, but which elephant do you even bite? And so, you know, tell me a little bit about how you, as a person leading the district in this work, have really thought about, it's not let's do everything at once, let's do something really well and understand it before we add another layer on.
If that school is truly ready to move on to Tier 2. So that's where I say that some schools are in different places, and they are ready to do Tier 2, where others we need to just kind of get some different aspects of Tier 1 before we move on to full implementation of 2.
I love hearing that, because we tell schools all the time that it's a marathon, not a sprint, and it takes 3 to 5 years, or you know, even 5 to 7 years to really be doing PBIS rewards with fidelity. And to hear you say, you know, they're only in year 3, not month 3, not week 3, not semester 3, but they have been doing PBIS for almost 3 years, and now they're ready to really go after check in, check out, or you know, that Tier 2 intervention. How do you have any schools that have tried to rush the process and get there too fast, or do you kind of as a district are able to kind of monitor that?
I think as a district we've been able to monitor that, and I just think
Awesome.
it's because there's someone like me sitting in the position to help monitor that, as well as the other district leaders that are out supporting schools as well, with the superintendent, deputy superintendent, the members of learning services and special education and equity and pupil services, which make up the district champions. We're able to kind of monitor and see where each school is, and based on the data, I even tier out the schools to go who needs tier 1 support. That means I really am a little hands off just as a resource, and who will need tier 2 supports where it's maybe just their district champion, or who needs tier 3 supports where it's me and the district champion walking them through the process and just doing a check-in, or what I like to call a school visit, but like basically like a walkthrough. We do a lot of walkthroughs. Our superintendent does a lot of walkthroughs, and a lot of the district administrators. So that's how we kind of inspect what you expect.
That is my favorite saying, and I say it all the time.
Me too.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, so we have, like I said, we have a lot of schools who are independent, kind of on an island doing this work, and then we have some districts that want to approach it from a district perspective, but they're just not sure. How do we do this? You know, you're at this place, you're at this place, you've been doing it for 7 years, you've never done it, you don't want to do it. So can you give some of those schools some advice, some insight, some tips that when you're ready to wrangle the PBIS kind of beast to start off, you know, it feels so big and so huge. How do you do that from a district perspective? How do you bring something like this organized framework to a district?
You have to have supportive leadership, district administrative leadership that understands what PBIS is and what it can do. And so with that, it just spreads, and it's basically, it starts at the head, and the head saying, hey, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to do it, and there's no wiggle room. And so with that, I mean, with that, our superintendent has been able to say that, and that's shown that it is best for kids. And with the combination of PBIS and some other initiatives that we have in place, it has brought down our discipline. You know, showing them where we were compared to where we are. Data doesn't lie. Supportive district administration who's going to back it and understands it. And then on top of that is the data. The data doesn't lie. And so with that, and just encouraging and inspecting once again what you expect and going from there. So, but also too, just taking it, you gotta meet your people where they are. And if they're not there, you kind of have to go as fast as you are allowed to go, and to just basically say, bite off that cookie one bite at a time, and just set the goals as far as what you want to see within the next 3 to 5 years.
It has been a true honor for our team to be here with you, to see inside of your schools, to watch your teachers in action, to see your buildings and all the things that they're doing to celebrate kids. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us? Tips, tricks, ideas, anything that you think anyone watching would benefit from?
Is that we didn't get here overnight. I've been sitting in the position of the response to intervention coordinator, and then later picked up PBIS coordinator for the district. But I was trained in PBIS in 2011, and it's now what? 2021. So I've really been blessed and fortunate to be able to sit in a position to see this come full circle, but it did not happen overnight. And so you just have to just take one aspect at a time and go from there. But also too, one thing I have learned is to inspect what you expect and go from there, and getting everybody on board. But it can be a slow process.
But it does work.
But it does work. It can be a slow process in that, meaning we know we have to contend with other factors, from adults to students to your community. You're taking it all in stride, but it does work. So here at Pulaski County School District in Little Rock, Arkansas, PBIS does work, and we're combining it with other avenues such as AVID and culturally responsive teaching. And we want to just say thanks to PBIS Rewards for helping us be able to have a system to be able to monitor it before it really gets to our reportable system.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.